When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Millennial Management Podcast. I am your host, Brandy, the Millennial Manager, and today is Wednesday for Patreon. I just want to say thank you so much for that much needed break, because your girl needed a vacation, okay? I've been going ham on social media, also with the podcast, so I needed a couple days break, and it was great. My family and I, we went to New York City. We got to ride the subway, and I don't know if y'all saw my video on social media, but we did have a great time. But baby, the people who visit from Europe, they are rude as fuck, okay? And very disrespectful. And I had to correct a few motherfuckers while we were on that trip, okay? Because I did not like the behavior that we were seeing and how dismissive and rude they were being. So I had to correct their ass several times. But anyway, I just wanted to say again, thank you so much for giving me that time to get myself together and get ready for this podcast episode. Now, today's episode is going to be focusing on emails, of course, because I have a stack, because I did not read emails from last week. And then also I want to talk to you guys about the pet to threat situation that I saw on social media. Now, before we get started with our email, I do want to talk to y'all about pet to threat. If you are unfamiliar with the terminology, pet to threat was coined by a Black woman who had experienced being like the golden child when she took this job. And then all of a sudden, she was being treated poorly, talked to disrespectfully, written up, put on PIPs. Once you start showing that you're able to do this job better than the person who is training you, you become a threat. And while this may stretch no matter your experience, whether you're white, you're Black, if you have somebody who is intimidated by you, you can't change that. And what I mean by that is that you cannot change somebody's imagination of you. If they view you in a certain way, if they imagine you in a certain way, you can't beat their imagination, because their imagination is with them all the time, even when you're not. Okay? And if they are allowing themselves to imagine a threat, eventually they're going to believe that that threat is real, whether it is or not. And you can't really stop that process from happening. The only thing you really can do is recognize it. A lot of times it does happen within the first year of you being with a company. Okay? That's usually when you see a pet to threat scenario happen. So you join an organization, and at the beginning, you're doing really well, meaning on your marks, your reviews are perfect. That 90-day review is great. And then about 6 months in, you start to hit barriers. You start to hit walls that you've never experienced before in this job. And those walls are being put up by your manager, or maybe your director, the person who trained you. And all of a sudden, your tasks are becoming more and more difficult to complete. Nothing that you say is correct or even like on the right track. Like all of a sudden, everything that you say is totally different from the scope. And that's by design. the person who is doing this and setting the standard for you is making it so you're always on the outside so that you can make a mistake, you can slip up, because they're intimidated by you. So they never want you to be on the right track because that doesn't benefit them. And at the end of the day, the reason why they're doing this is because of intimidation. So why would they want someone that they're intimidated by to be on the same level as them? They don't. You start seeing it a little later in your career when it's time for you to promote, when it's time for you to move on to the next level. And this manager that you have may be blocking your promotion in several ways. I've heard this through a lot of my clients that I meet with. And it's just like, well, I don't understand why she's blocking me or he's blocking this opportunity. It's because he doesn't want to see you as equal. And then also, he wants you right where you are. So he doesn't want to see you as an equal. And he also wants to keep you exactly where you are because you're doing the work. He enjoys you doing that work. But he definitely doesn't want to see you as someone at the same caliber as him in the workplace. That's the issue. That's when you see it start to happen a little bit later in your career. Now, where do the write-ups start to come in? The write-ups start to come in when you make tiny mistakes, things that are very minute, not important, like very, very small, but all of a sudden those things are magnified and brought to a higher level so that everybody can recognize the mistake. And it's more so to bring you down. This is how they initiate the beginning of trying to minimize you in the workplace because you are shining too bright. You're doing too great. So they start with the write-ups that's like for little tiny things. So maybe you send an email that had grammatical errors, right? Something that's very small. And this manager or your director then takes that email and says she has a lack of attention to detail. That can mean so many things, but what they're really talking about is this one email. But all of a sudden, you have a lack of attention to detail. That's where they're going with this. Not following instructions, not following the description of the job if you're doing something for someone else. Like, it is so mind-boggling that these people have the time to play this game, but they do. They make time. They figure it out. They figure out how to do their job just enough and then also save a little bit of time to stay on your ass. And I'm going to tell you, I know it's hard to hear, but depending on how proactive your HR department is, if you have an HR department that is responsive, that really values the input of the teams, they really focus in on trying to create a collaborative work environment and space for the employees, for the managers, for everybody, right? So they're willing to listen, they're willing to hear what you have to say when it comes to issues inside of the workplace. Then absolutely, right? Absolutely report it. Report it. But baby, if you got an HR department that is the complete opposite of that, they do not care about trying to even come to an understanding. They have no interest in trying to make things better in the workplace. Do not, and I repeat, do not report it, okay? Document exactly what is happening so that if you do have a case, you can utilize work receipts. You remember I told y'all about work receipts? It's WRK Receipts. That's the app. Download that app and you're going to start documenting all of these things. If you need to do voice recordings, if you need to actually put up an email screenshot, you can upload all of that information. And then if you want to take it a step further, they do have employment attorneys on that app. They can connect you to an employment attorney. You just have to request that. And so I think when you're dealing with the latter HR department, it is always good to find out whether or not you need legal representation. Having a consultation with an attorney is what's going to help you figure that out. If you really need to file that claim with the EEOC, if you have a case or not. Because we know right now the EEOC is very backed up, and that's also by design, okay? Because everything that this administration is doing is in benefit of a corporation. It's definitely not to the benefit of employees. So they're going to make it very hard for you to even get your case heard before any representative with the EEOC. And that could take almost a year. And who knows, in a year, you could be gone. So it's almost like you want to just go straight to an attorney and kind of see what that process looks like. But I definitely feel like a lot of people deal with this in the workplace and they don't necessarily have a name for it because they haven't experienced it before. This is their first time encountering this type of childish, ignorant behavior. They've never seen it before. And like I said in the beginning, honey, you cannot be anybody's imagination. So this is the image that they have in their mind of you. You cannot change it. And you shouldn't even try to shift that because it's not your responsibility. You understand? There are a lot of people who want to change a narrative in an office. They want to shift whatever is being said about them. But in reality, you can't really control that. The only thing you can control is yourself and your output and what you do every single day. So don't worry about how this person views you because you can't change that anyway. That's them. They have to go do the work. They have to go see a therapist. They have to actually work through those negative emotions and feelings that they're having towards someone that doesn't even have an issue with them. Okay? So I want you to take that off. I want you to stop wearing that because that's not your responsibility to shift their mindset. That's for them to do. The only thing you can do is figure out, how am I going to get the fuck out of here? Okay? That's what you need to be focusing on. Because when you're in an environment like this, you don't know how long what we just said is going to take for them to do the work, for them to try to minimize that feeling or that imagination that they have. You don't know how long that's going to take. You don't even know if it's going to happen. Okay? So when you are dealing with somebody who views you as a threat, who views you as someone who is coming for their job, or maybe you're doing too well and you're shining too bright, they're jealous, whatever it is, you cannot get around that. You can't. Because it's not that you think that you're better than them. It's that they think that. So they are projecting that onto you. So you need to figure out how long, what is my time frame that I'm giving myself to find another opportunity. Because when they get like this, when you deal with a manager or director, anyone who is in a leadership role, and this is the stance that they take when they have someone who is shining bright, instead of really pushing them towards better opportunities, that is a threatening person for real, because they will cost you your job easily. And a lot of times they have built up a lot of security within the company where this type of behavior is not really frowned upon because they've been there for a while, or maybe they're just really good at their job, or maybe they're just really good at lying. Okay? Really good. And so I just caution people before you decide to push forward with anything, think of all the possible outcomes. Because once you file that report, there's no taking it back. Like, unless you're going to use terms like retaliation, hostile work environment, hopefully they take it serious. But that's the gamble that you take with going to HR, because you don't really know. Okay? I watched a video, which I actually posted on my stories, which hopefully is still there. But I posted a video onto my stories about a young lady who was being, I don't want to say manipulated, but they were trying to manipulate her into feeling like she was the problem in the office. And really, like, this experience that I'm talking about is really what was happening on camera. We actually got to see what that looks like in real time. For those of us who have not experienced it, you get to see exactly what I'm talking about. And it's one of the saddest things to sit and watch, because she's trying to articulate, or she is not even trying. She's articulating herself in a way that is digestible, understandable. The people can hear exactly what she's saying. She's not loud. She did get a little emotional, and that's okay, because she didn't cry. She kept it in. But to be met with a response from the other party saying, "Are you done?" Baby, let me tell you, I would have straightened up my back so fast. Yes, I am, actually. And you know what? Dismiss what I said. Y'all have a good day. Thank you. End call. Okay? And let that be your last motherfucking time telling them about how they make you feel in the workplace. Because at the end of the day, they don't give a fuck. They know what they're doing. They have no, want to not continue this behavior. This is exactly what they want to do. So that's why they're continuing it. That's why she was met with that response. That's why this whole thing is happening. And unfortunately, it is something that you cannot necessarily move past. You're going to have to leave. Okay? I know a lot of people are like, well, I'll be leaving forever. It's a lot of environments that's not like this. It's a lot of managers who are not like this. It's a lot of companies that are very supportive that are not like this one. And if you keep telling yourself, well, I'll be leaving every single job, and you're experiencing this on every single job, then is that really what we're experiencing? Okay? I'm just saying now, because it can't always be somebody else. Hello? Accountability is knocking. Okay? That's for those of us who claim that this type of behavior, this type of manager is at every single job, every single company. Every manager is terrible. Every manager is this. And it's like, are they? Is every manager like this? Because what's the common denominator? Every manager is not leaving these jobs and going to another one. What's the denominator here? Okay. Thank you very much. The common denominator. Okay. So before we get into this level of, or not level, but before we get to this place where we start to imagine that this happens in every office, in every business, we really need to take inventory and make sure that we're doing exactly what is required of us. Okay? And that we're not in the state of imagination, because that can happen as well. And now for our first email of the episode. It says, "Hey, Brandy. Hey, girl. I got a situation I'd like your input on. I recently stepped down from a leadership role and into a mid-level specialist position within the same company. I made this move for a personal decision to get a different set of experience under my belt. I absolutely love my specialist role. It's been 8 months, and honestly, every day I thank God for the great move. However, I'm finding it tough working under my direct manager. She's a nice person, but really struggles with procrastination, organization, and a consistent negative attitude. Negative Nancy about every damn thing is draining, especially since the job is primarily about project and time management. It's truly not hard at all. I'm doing well in my own tasks, but sometimes I worry her issues reflect poorly on us since she leads us. I'm the only person that she manages. The director of our department has hinted at her struggles, and I could tell they don't like each other. All in all, I love my job, but her constant complaining is exhausting. Do you think my past leadership role makes me see this differently, or am I right to be concerned? What is your advice? Ma'am, I do think your past leadership helps you be able to kind of put things into focus and not necessarily focus on problems. This person is is like wanting to stay in the problem instead of like trying to find a solution, which is one of the most important skills that you need to have as a manager, because it helps your team stay on the right track. If you are positive about a situation, not toxic positivity, because we know that that's a thing, like in the face of real issues, in the face of real problems, you're like, okay, guys, there's no issue. There's no problem. Like, yes, there is an issue. Yes, there is a problem, and that's okay. But in this scenario, it just seems like she just may be ill-equipped for management. And the fact that you come from a management position, mid-level management, or leadership, it's just that you understand that we don't necessarily need to focus on the negative, and then kind of let that exude into our work, that we need to look at this from a positive stance. And she struggles with that. I'm going to tell you, you really cannot control what she does, especially one thing that you got on your side is that the director sees that she is not able to lead. The director sees that. The director knows that, because you said that they don't really care for each other, but she also has hinted at some of the struggles and issues that your direct manager may have. So it doesn't necessarily reflect on you. It doesn't. Because as long as you are doing well in your own job, you're doing well at your specific tasks that are geared towards what you are supposed to do and what your output is, I don't think you're going to have an issue, because you already have a director who recognizes the shortcomings that she has. Now, if it was the other way around, I would say you in danger, girl, because if your director believes that she's actually doing a good job, that means that she has made this person believe that she is really good at this job, and in reality, she's not. She's putting up a smoke screen. But it just seems like her inability to get things done in a timely manner, be organized, is affecting you like personally. I think you are just kind of worried about it, when in reality, it's not causing you any issue as long as your work is not being delayed. Also, if the team does bad, that's not on you, my friend. You are used to being in leadership, and I suspect that you are someone who is the complete opposite of this person. That's how you're able to spot it so quick, is that you're used to the team's inability to do things falling on you, when this is actually the complete opposite. It's not going to fall on you this time, because you're not the leader. It's going to fall on her. So if there are certain things done, that's not your responsibility. You did your part as a team member. So anything else outside of that is her, right? That's her. That's not you. So I would just continue to focus on my day-to-day tasks, the things that I'm responsible for doing. And I would not necessarily, I know it's going to be hard to not engage, but I would cut it down a little bit, because it's affecting you with her negative talk, her negative demeanor. And that does start to cause an issue in the workplace if that's all you're surrounding yourself with. And so you almost have to like minimize your interaction. I know she's your director and you're her only direct report, so that causes an issue. You guys would constantly be in contact. But if there are some things that you can maybe email her instead of communicating directly, cutting down direct communication is going to be the best way that you can go through this. I feel like because you were in leadership before, you are like putting her under a microscope and being like, girl, this is not how you do this. When in reality, you're not the leader anymore. You stepped away. Let her dig her own ditch and let the director get her about it up, because it's exactly what's going to happen. If it continues to get worse and gets on a slippery slope, I'm sure your director is going to make a very good decision in your benefit. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. All right, let's go to our next email. This email says, "Hi, Brandy. I work in a corporate environment where, in my case, because I'm vocal, the management team used a shunning technique. They would walk by me and not speak and greet everyone else. They would not include me in anything. They would act like I did not exist. And it did not matter that my work performance was outstanding. It used to bother me inside, but I never let it show. This went on for a long time until I mentioned it to a new manager. By then, I had become numb about it and actually preferred it that way. Can you give any insight on this? Thanks and advice, Betty." Betty, well, I don't know exactly what you are vocal about, but that is what tends to happen to people who are extremely vocal in the workplace. Depending on what you said, depending on what was communicated, you could be shunned because it just brought out the fact that your management team may be not leading properly. I don't know exactly what you said, but that definitely does sound like a technique that they would use to make you feel like you're not a part of the team, because if we make her experience miserable, then she'll quit. It's like a form of punishment. And it's very childish giving someone a silent treatment when everyone's in here. Good morning to everyone. Like, don't single people out. Don't be rude and dismissive. And I hate when management does not respect the position that they hold. They don't respect the amount of authority that is in their hands. Because when you don't respect it, that's when you abuse it. That's when you abuse your power. That's when you abuse the position because you don't respect it. You recognize it. You understand the power that you have, but you don't really respect it. And that's when you have situations like this. And whoever the ringleader is in this management team is absolutely disgusting. Because why would you even want to create an environment like this where there's even one person who feels left out, one person who doesn't feel heard, one person who, feels like they're not being respected in the workplace? So I just feel like, unfortunately, this is a tactic that management does use when they don't respect the position or the authority that they have. Sadly, you really have to make a decision of if you're going to report it or if you're going to ignore it. You said that you have been ignoring this. You have not been paying any attention to it, but you did bring it up to a new manager. So I don't know what the outcome of that was. I would like to know if you would give us a little more background also about what you were vocal about, like what happened in the workplace that made you have to be vocal about something. Was it an issue that you and your coworkers discussed together, and then when it was time for it to be brought to the forefront or to management's attention, nobody got anything to say? Everybody's quiet. Nobody has any input. Like, they're not repeating some of the things that they said, and then you look like the mouthpiece and putting your neck out there for everybody, and they're not willing to do the same. So I would like to know exactly what was said, what was communicated that day when you had to be vocal against management, or maybe just against some things that have happened inside of the workplace, and also what happened when you communicated with this new manager. Like, they're a part of the management team. So I wonder, did they notice it themselves? It's a lot of questions that I have unanswered because the email is very short. I do hope that you are able to get back to us because we want to know. Okay, Betty? So please make sure you tell us. That's going to be it for today, guys. Patreon, I appreciate you so much. If you would like to listen to this podcast episode early or any podcast episodes early, make sure you join Patreon. It's $6 per month. We go live once every 2 weeks. So our last live, I think, was July 5th. It was 4th of July weekend. So we're going to be going live again this Saturday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So if you have questions that you would like asked on that or answered on that live, it is specifically for the paid Patreon group. So you have to be in the paid Patreon community to be able to participate in this live. Make sure you email that over. Say that you're a Patreon member in the subject line to themaleManagementPod@gmail.com. And I'll be going through some of those questions and gathering those things up for our meeting this weekend. So we're going to be going live on Saturday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And that's it. I'll see y'all asses on the internet. Bye.